Yes, it's the best thing since sliced bread.
Good afternoon and welcome to another Grays of Westminster live stream.
Hello,
Hello, live from London. I'm Becky.
Constin.
You know us. Thank you to everyone who's been commenting already. We were just reading. Dixon, what does FWIW mean? Because I haven't had time to Google it. I was just very interestingly reading that he had tried out NX Studio.
For what it's worth.
Oh, for what it's worth. I don't know these. I'm not down with the cool kids.
Thank you, Google.
Okay, so today we are giving the Z system some love. We've talked about F mounts. Are you on the Wi-Fi? Can you not?
Okay.
We're streaming.
Fine. We need to talk about Kevin.
We will talk about Kevin.
Nikon.
We're going to talk about Nikon and the Z system, and we're going to give it some love, but we're also going to point out some things that we think are worth knowing.
Point fingers.
We're going to point some fingers in a nice way. Yes.
In a polite, non-internet way.
While you're setting up your hotspot for your laptop there, please do note that the coffee fund is open. I have restored the ice cream cup to its glory. It is down there. So you can contribute to the coffee fund. And thank you very much to Richard for already contributing. I'd also like to give an honourable mention to the PayPal and eShop Coffee Fund contributors throughout the week. So we have Alan Morrow, Ian Willard, Edward Langdon, and Andrew Watson. Thank you very, very much for your contributions throughout the week.
That's why my coffee flask is full already.
That's right. And I will be getting mine after the stream. And thank you to Roy, who's also just contributed to the Coffee Fund. Now, we are still being nominated for Retailer of the Year with British Photographic Industry News.
Too many words.
There's so many abbreviations, I can't keep track of them. AP, BPI, FWIW.
Exactly.
FYI. So if you'd like to vote for us, instructions will be below. We would love you to, and thank you very much to everyone who's already voted.
Thank you.
We are doing a giveaway. We've got another one of David Yarrow's lovely books. This is the second edition of In Focus. And if you would like to win, we're going to do something a little different. Don't put, I would like to win. No.
Not this time.
We're going to make you work for this one.
That's right.
So in order to enter yourself, we would like you to put next Friday, and then your idea for a stream, because we want to know what you want to know.
Yeah,
right?
We simply don't have any ideas.
It's not entirely true, but we do also want to give the people what they want. That's what we're here for, right? So if you have an idea, then to enter the competition to win, put next Friday, and then your idea in as few words as you can possibly manage, and then we'll pick a name at the end. Now, just a proviso, just because we pick your name doesn't mean we will go with your idea, because you could have something really strange.
No silly dances.
No silly dances allowed. I don't know. We dance quite well.
We can do a bit of Fortnite movements. Yeah.
But the ideas are helpful for us as well, because then we know what you want. But we will pick a name at random. So that's for the end of the stream. Now, I also would like to just say, if you have some comments you would like to make, we do want to talk about the Zs as related to both professionals and non-professional photographers. Obviously, we here at the shop, we sell Nikon, but we're photographers, if you see what I mean. Photographers, yes, that's us. Not everyone is a photographer in the shop, but we happen to be. So obviously we're going to kind of give you our viewpoints based on what we think of the Z system. It works differently for different people. If you're a pro and you're using the Z system, or if you've got one of the Mark IIs, or we want to hear from you. Want to know what you think. You've had the Z6 too.
Yes, I did.
You had it for like 2 weeks, something like that?
Yes, we had a loan from Nikon. So we used that, and I used about 3 days worth of using the new firmware.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. So we'll talk about that. We've got a little bit of rather interesting video footage just for you to see what the new firmware looks like for the Z6 II and Z7 II. I personally using the Z6 and the Z50. So I don't have new fancy firmware, but I don't do too badly, all things considered. Getting by. It's not too shabby. Just having a look. Hello to John. I understand if you have to go for a photo shoot, but if you don't, then Thanks for sticking around.
No, actually, that's great. It's, you know, not many people doing photo shoots nowadays, so it's, you know.
It's a good thing, exactly. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
Dixon hopes that Nikon will do a flippy screen Z something like a Z30 for easier videos.
I can tell you right here, yes, that will happen.
From New York, David from Obama. We've got people from every corner of the globe, and there's so many comments that I actually lost. Like they kept refreshing, so I lost that. Happy St. Piran's Day from Cornwall, Jeremy. There we go. Didn't know that St. Piran had a day, but he does apparently. Hello to Roy in Melbourne and to Austin in New York and Gordon in Staffordshire. You know, everywhere.
Ben from Luton.
That's right. So quite a few people are asking interesting questions, and this is what we want to address the elephant in the room. So a lot of people are saying, I've got my DSLR, I'm happy with it. Why would I change system? This is a valid question. We're not necessarily here to convince you that you should have a Z system, by the way, but there are certainly some pro photographers that we've been speaking to that are using it as their day job camera, for those that can still be doing day jobs at the moment. And it's interesting to see where the split lies and who finds what useful for what. So
split lies, that's all I heard.
Okay.
Lies everywhere.
I might drop, that's not what I said. Lines. You don't pay attention to what I'm saying.
Not really. Just like internet, they take out certain things, and then they make videos about it.
That's right.
Well, they scream on the videos about it.
Something like that, yeah. So thank you to Ian and Terry as well for your contributions, and Jeremy for your contributions to the Coffee Fund. If we buffer a little bit, it's just because apparently lots of people are at home today on the internet using the bandwidth.
Using up all the data.
That's it. So first of all, we now have 6 Z cameras.
6 Z cameras. 6
whole Z cameras in the lineup, which is, I mean, that's a whole, yes, exactly.
That's
it's
it.
a whole
run out on one hand.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of amazing how quickly that happened, I think.
It's escalated quickly.
It did,
yeah.
It escalated very fast. Ian, for your question about the Z 2x teleconverter, I don't know when we're getting them in. Unfortunately, we don't have any outlook of them. They're not in Europe currently. But we now have a thing on our website where if you go onto the product that you're waiting for, you can just drop your email in there and it will automatically notify you when we get back in stock. So it's very modern technology for you. Okay, so onto the Z cameras.
Yes.
So we've got 6 bodies. I'll mention the Z50 just because you haven't used it much.
No, it's too small for my small hands.
Because it's DX, isn't it? That's why. Yeah.
It is, yes.
I love the Z50. In fact, if you're interested, Rishi posted a very good video. It was actually a while back, and someone brought it to my attention recently, of the Z50 versus the Z6 at different ISO levels. And it's a very clinical test. You know, the same setup side by side, ISO 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600 on up, right? The Z50 up to about 1600 is the same in terms of noise level as the Z6, pretty much. You
That's
get
pretty good.
a fraction more color noise in the shadows at 1600. By even at 3200 and 6400, you get similar noise levels.
That's good to know because the pixel pitch is a lot smaller, even at 20 megapixels.
That's right.
on DX. So it competing with Z6 up to about 1600 ISO, it's pretty good achievement.
Yeah, exactly. And then in terms of detail, obviously Rishi used the same lens for both, pointed out that it's a full frame lens that he was using. He was using the 51.8S and had obviously adjusted the Z6 shot so that it was using the same crop factor. And it's interesting that even the resolving detail when you're looking at 1:1 or 1:2 is the Z50 is very impressive. So do check out his video. It was from like the end of 2019, I think. It was a while ago, but I watched it recently and thought how fascinating it was to see that the Z50 performs admirably.
Yes.
That one.
You see, what I want with it is them change the design of it, make it look vintage, put F mounted and call it X Pro 4.
Right, because that's basically, right, I understand. This is the Z50 here. It is the smallest and lightest setup that you can get a hold of. And the little, okay, I'm not a big fan of kit lenses, generally speaking, but the 16 to 50, we've recorded a lot of videos on this setup. So some of the videos that you will see that we've uploaded where we're shooting on location or outside of the shop, we'll usually use a Z50 because it's small and light and it shoots 4K. So, you know,
Yeah, video is really good.
Yeah. So if you want something that's light in the hand, then I think that's really portable. And there's the 50 to 250.
Yeah, and the most important feature of this camera is
the selfie screen.
Selfie mode.
It's very important. Exactly.
Because apparently, who knows cameras nowadays? It's only YouTube.
Yeah.
That's
true.
The people this camera was created for.
That's who takes pictures these days and takes videos.
Those are the real photographers, you see.
That's irony, by the way. Austin, a little while back, actually, as he's on here, did send me a lovely video. It came, I think it arrived just after we'd done our Z6 to Z7 II appreciation video. So I didn't get to include it in there, but he shot the whole little thing on the Z50 and said, I'm using the selfie mode on it because you can actually see what you're doing. It's very useful if you've got the correct tripod foot.
Yeah, and actually, you know, for people who starting their own YouTube channel, let's say, and they want to do it, you know, kind of cheap and cheerful, and also they want to see themselves what they're recording.
Exactly.
This is quite useful.
Exactly. So that's the Z50. I'm not going to go into it too much because
Please don't.
Thanks. Because we're going to talk about the firmware updates. We're going to talk about lenses. Lenses are possibly one of the most important things in the Z system, I would say. Yes, you've got the smaller, lighter body, but what's the point in having a small, light body if you're then going to put a big, heavy lens on it? There is a point. But
yes, our experience with 200 to 500 on Z6 didn't go well.
No, it was very top heavy and difficult to use, but it's there if you want it. So there we go. Next we have the Z5. I need to draw some attention to the Z5 before we move on to the 6s and the 7s.
This camera finally exists, and we tell you why.
We did do a whole thing on it, didn't we? Did we do a stream on it?
There were too many streams.
Yeah, so many. We've done almost, we're coming up to a year's worth of streams. It will be the year anniversary of streams in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. So can you believe that? I can't. And that's this March 17th is a red letter day. So the Z5 is an odd one because when it came out in the UK, the price point was honestly not that much different to the Z6. And I think certainly from my viewpoint and your viewpoint, we kind of went, why?
Yeah, it was about 200, 250 pounds difference between the bodies.
Yeah. And that didn't make a huge amount of sense to me because it, you know, why would you save next to nothing to go for the Z5 when it had everything? You could just go for the Z6.
And remember what we said.
Yeah.
As with D600 series, there was a race to the bottom. So the race to get a full frame camera under £1,000. Now, it hasn't fully happened yet, but we got really, really close.
Yeah.
So what's the current price of the camera?
1,074.
That's pretty good for mirrorless full frame camera.
Yeah, that's the body only. And now the other reason that I want to just point towards the Z5 a little bit is because it was the first Nikon Z camera to have 2 card slots. It has 2 SD card slots. It was also the first one that allowed you to charge while shooting. So a lot of the features that we then saw in the 6.2 and the 7.2 were already available in the Z5. It does have a much slower frame rate. So if you do need that faster frame rate, then obviously you wouldn't necessarily look at this one. But apart from that, it's the same image quality as the Z6. And now we have 3 different lens options. So you've got the 24 to 50, which somehow mysteriously is not here.
So which would be roughly about the same size as 6 into 50 on this 50 camera.
Yeah, and my review on the 24 to 50 should be out next week, I think. It's nearly done. So, I mean, I filmed it ages ago. It's almost ready. It needs to cook for a bit longer. Yeah. But the 24 to 50 is a very small and light kit lens. Then you've got the 24 to 200, which you did a review on.
Yes, very good lens. If you need all-in-one lens, definitely it's the best one of them all. It's definitely better than any F-mount version of that.
Like kind of all-in-one lens. And then lastly, we now have a 24 to 70 f4 kit. So Nikon have decided to make the Z5 basically any possibility of a kit lens. You've got it. 24 to 70 f4, that kit should be available from the 1st of April. So if you were thinking of a Z5 and you wanted it with a 24 to 70 f4, then you've got that option.
Yeah, I think the main kind of what this camera lacks is kind of video is not as good as compared to Z6.
No.
And they use an older sensor compared to Z7. It's not back illuminated. So
that's, yes.
And because of that, the region from the sensor is slower, so frame rate is slower.
That's right.
So if you don't shoot fast, let's say if you don't need more than 5 frames per second,
right.
and video is not your main priority, it's definitely a good choice, especially at the price now.
And it's funny because Scott says, did I pay too much for my Z5? I mean, it depends on when you bought it, because they did come and go on discounts. So if you bought it when it first came out, I actually don't know how much it was then, but I know that the price difference wasn't that great in comparison to the Z6. I know that now there's a more wider gap. Also, when the Z5 came out, the Z6 was on offer, which confused everyone even further.
Oh yeah, that's true. But at the same time, when you buy an equipment on the day one, you're definitely paying a lot more than, let's say, if you'd buy the same type of equipment a year later. Let's have a look at Z850. I think it was about 3,500 when it came out. It's currently retails at about 2,500.
It is 2,500.
And it was as low as 2,240. So yes, by buying it now, you're paying extra for latest technology.
Yeah, essentially. But that doesn't mean we want you to not buy things when they're launched. Please still do that.
Well, we all want the latest and greatest, and if the means allow for that, then why not? Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Scott also says 24 to 200 lens is awesome. Only problem is hotspots terribly in infrared. Now that's a very niche issue, which I
haven't got there. No.
Personally spot, but that's good to know. Thank you, Scott, for your feedback there. There was also. It's interesting. There's a lot of ideas coming through, and I'm trying not to get distracted by what we might be doing next week. Lee asks, low light performance of Z5 compared to Z6. Now, I believe it's the same processor.
Comparable.
But
I would say, yeah.
But the only benefit of the Z6 is you've got that backside illuminated sensor, so you might see slightly less noise. I don't know if Rishi's done a video on it, but it's definitely worth checking because he usually does it almost as soon as the camera comes out. So do have a look at that, Lee, when you get a moment. Jeremy has the Z6 too, loves it, and the first Nikon school lesson was well worth it to do the transition from DSLR to Z. I would highly recommend some kind of a class, particularly with the guys at Nikon school, because they really know what people get stuck on when they change from SLRs to Z cameras.
I think they still run that 20% off that we mentioned a couple of weeks ago.
On the podcast,
yeah, absolutely. So do check out our podcast from 2 weeks ago. There should be a code in there.
Yeah, exactly. So if you are planning to go that way, or if you've just bought yourself a Z camera, I think our very first live stream actually was me kind of going, okay, for people that have just unboxed a Z6, this is what you need to do. It was very basic.
This is the shutter release button.
No, it wasn't like that. It's a very different experience, let's put it that way. Roy says in Australia the Z5 is dearer than the Z6.
That's a shame.
That's interesting. Didn't know that.
I think one thing we want to talk about, and we will get to it later on, is Nikon having different branches all over the world, and they do different promotions to their territories. It's not only happening to Nikon, but the same Fujifilm does it. I think Canon does it as well. But that creates a situation where some cameras, they're supposed to be cheaper than the other cameras, and below in range, they become more expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Now, just reading back through, because I want to make sure that I don't miss any of your very valuable comments. So Gordon says, love my Z7 too. Interesting learning curve with the Z system focusing method. Yes, we are definitely going to talk about autofocus systems, but as I say, I would absolutely 100% recommend that if you are going to have a Z system and you're used to a DSLR, do take a course, study up. It's a different experience.
It's a tough one to say on the internet that you need to do your homework in order to use the camera. Because, yeah, you're going to get abused. But it is, unfortunately, with new equipment, especially us coming from traditional SLR type of photography, switching to kind of full electronic camera, sometimes, yeah, it does require a little bit of work. But the great news about it, it doesn't take long. A good, let's say, couple of days with the camera or a week should get you there.
Thumbs up. Please give us a like.
If you like that message.
If you like that message. If you like the stream, just in general. If you like us and our lovely producer, please do give us a thumbs up. We have 50 likes, 202 viewers. It would be nice to have those numbers match up. And do subscribe. I haven't said that for a while. So, yes, please do subscribe to our channel. Now, David says, not a pro, but in my use case, the older Z6 has transitioned to a video unit to capture granddaughter growing up. And the Z7 II with grip is my everyday camera now. There we go. And at 6'8", I love the grip. Hashtag big hands. That should be a hashtag. I love it.
What's the thing about Donald Trump and hands?
I don't.
No, let's not get that. Sorry, guys. It's just it's a wrong live stream. Come and join me.
That's right. It's your personal live stream. And Richard says, love my Z7 II, lockdown limiting me, but not for long. Fingers crossed. Yes, absolutely. There's light at the end of the tunnel on the horizon somewhere. Eves has the Z6 II, has been using the Z6, so is pointing out that the AF is better than the old Z6 because that was the main concern.
Just a quick reminder, and Gordon Powell mentions that originally a Neo intro to Z7 II, great, can't wait for the part 2. Now, there's a photography show happening tomorrow, and on Sunday, you can still register for free. Nikon, including Neil and Richie, will be running different panels. And there's definitely a panel on Z series camera, so if you have any questions, you can ask them there. But there's going to be some panels on food and landscape photography as well. Go to Photography Show website, do check it out.
Yeah, it's worth doing if you've got a little bit of time this weekend. And the presenters are all great. It's free, so why not?
Exactly.
It'll prepare you for when we do come out of lockdown, and you can do some more photography further afield. Steve, Neil, loving the Z6 II so far. Used it mainly with AIS prime lenses for the 1 month challenge. Currently using the 200 f4, which is one of my personal favorites. So that's great. All right, so we've talked about the Z50, the Z5. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the Z6 and the Z7, and the Z6 II and the Z7 II came out just before Christmas. We now have stock of the Z6 II. You know, like after did you not know?
No.
So it's on our website now. Various different kits are available. If you want a Z6 II, they are there. Z7 IIs are still few and far between. Hopefully that will sort itself out fairly soon. But as I say, we now have a notification system. So if you do want to be notified when we get something in stock, you just pop your email address in there and then the system tells you and I don't have to call you.
Welcome to the world of tomorrow.
I know, it's like 21st century stuff. So So Yoganath asks, may I know the key difference between the Z5 and the Z6? Primarily, and I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier, the Z5, 2 SD card slots, no backside illuminated sensor. It's got slightly lower quality video, but it doesn't shoot raw video and it doesn't output video in the same way the Z6 does.
And frame rate.
And the frame rate. That's pretty much it. Everything else is essentially the same or near enough. Is the autofocus system smaller, lower?
I think it's the same.
Can't remember. Obviously, we were paying attention at that announcement.
Who uses Z5 anyway? I'm kidding.
Hopefully, that answers your question.
No, at the price, especially currently, finally, I think Nikon is giving it a second life.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely, because it's a full frame body at the £1,000 price mark now. If you are looking at going full frame from a DX camera or a DSLR that you've had for a while, it's a very good entry point into the Z system. Now, the Z6 II and the Z7 II, as we mentioned, we dedicated full stream to those, and we also did a whole stream with Rishi about those, which was great, actually. It was great having his input and insight.
I think, if you want to know in detail what Z6 II and Z7 II do, definitely watch this live stream.
Yeah, exactly. The Z5 does have IBIS. Z5 has
it does,
IBIS.
yes. Only Z50 doesn't.
Roy, it does have IBIS, yes. Just seeing the comment. Your comments came in faster than mine did, which was interesting.
Because I'm on 5G,
That's why.
Not the Wi-Fi.
Mark says, love my Z7 II for bird photography with my 200 to 500. See, he can use the 200 to 500 with this. You were just complaining.
I'm the weakling.
It was because I took your D850 for the day, wasn't it? You were just really sore about that.
Yes.
That was all it was. Good point, Scott. The Z5 has no top screen either, but it is a slightly bigger design. So the ergonomics of the Z5, very similar to the Z6 II and Z7 II. It's the Z6 II and the 7 II. I think if you've got an existing 6 or 7, the differences are maybe slight. You've got the extra card slot, so XQD and SD, or CF Express and SD. You've got slightly faster frame rate, but do bear in mind with those numbers, you're getting a lower bit rate. So if you're shooting in RAW, you'll get 14 frames per second with the Z6 II instead of 12 with the Z6. but it will be in 12-bit.
If you would have to make an analogy to DSLR range, would you call it D600 and let's say Z6 D780, or would you call this D750 and Z6 more D780 style?
That's a really good question. I think that this is closer to the 750.
750
in terms of performance, and then the Z6 would be the D780.
D780,
you know, they're both great cameras. The 780 just has a little bit more, and then of course the Z7 and the Z7 II are both kind of like a D850. A lot of people saying I'd rather wait for a D880.
I feel you.
Yeah,
I'm in the same boat.
We understand.
When I say I'm in the same boat, though, is
I say I'm in the same boat.
I want a D880 in the mirrorless form.
Yeah. So we want the Z8 and the Z9, which a few people mentioned. That is the rumor, right? We're expecting, hopefully, at some point this year, a Z8. What do we think the Z8 is going to be? Because I know the Z9 is supposed to be like a D6.
Okay, Z9 is D6. Z8 is basically Z7 on steroids.
Right.
So it's a D880 with a higher res sensor, so more than 45 megapixels, and Z9 AF system.
Yeah.
So that's what you'll get: faster AF system, higher resolution sensor.
Yeah.
So looking at, let's say, current announcement, so it looks like Z9 will be in the range of 40 to 50 megapixels.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that Z8 should be around 60 plus megapixels, so 60 to 80 megapixels.
Okay.
Just coming back to D750 and Z5 analogy, D750 currently is 1129 for the body only. Z5 is 1074.
Right.
Z5 is a better camera.
Yeah.
Because of the latest technology.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both good cameras, but at this moment, if I have to buy brand new, get this. If you have to buy secondhand, D750 secondhand is fantastic price at the moment, 750 or something.
I mean, one thing that, not to make this a D750 stream, but the D750 came out in 2014. It's a long time ago.
It's been a while, yeah.
It's a surprisingly long time ago. So if you do want the latest and greatest, then the Z5 does make sense, as Con says. What's that? Oh, did you? How do I click on it? Wow. Amazing. Brand new Z6 II owner here. Any chance of the blackout being improved through firmware? Great question, Joe. They did do some small improvements with the very first firmware update on that. So I imagine that it will improve further. However, if you're going to shoot at 14 frames per second, bearing in mind you get that 12-bit bitrate in your raw files, you are going to get a lot of blackout with any camera.
To be honest with you, I haven't personally noticed it. I know it's an issue, but from my personal experience, I haven't noticed it. So I'm not sure it's there. It's just, for my personal use, I never had the issue.
Sure.
So
I tend to, I was speaking to Simon Stafford earlier. I'm kind of the mind that if I can't get it in like 2 seconds with 5 or 6 frames per second, I'm probably not going to get it, to be honest. I don't spray at all. I don't really shoot that fast.
Yeah, they're different users, of course.
Exactly. Roy mentions, no one has mentioned how great the Z cameras are at adapting old lenses. Yes, we will be talking about lenses just shortly.
Yeah.
I wanted to just mention a little bit on the topic of the Z6 II and the Z7 II and the current market and the internet. Let's talk about the internet. A lot of us were kind of disabused a little bit by Nikon when at CP Plus they just said, look at the great system we have. Just look at it, please.
Nikon made a boo-boo.
They didn't say that, no. They were very...
No, they didn't do anything. That's what happened. And that's what probably upset a lot of people.
That's right. They were very conservative, as is the way with that particular company, and said, look, we know you want something, but just please look at the Z system. Try it out. See if you like it. And I thought, okay.
I remember when the person on the plane, when they explained things.
Exactly. It was kind of like direct your attention to the Z6 II and the existing system. And I kind of actually quite like that because a lot of people haven't given the Zs the attention they need. At the same time, there's a huge amount of internet bashing. Should we call it bashing?
Well, because if you're on YouTube, you have to scream. You really have to either love or hate. There's nothing between. It's either Nikon is dying or Nikon is dead already, isn't it? So
well, that's what they say, and it's so full of nonsense. Luckily, we have very sensible audience members here.
Here we are, alive and kicking.
We are here alive and kicking. We have people that have lots of intelligence and therefore know that not everything that people say on the internet is strictly true, but also that it doesn't necessarily need to be paid a huge amount of attention to. But I just wanted to address it because
the elephant
in the room. Because, you know, we get a lot of these articles like Sony's 1,000,000 times better, in your face, Nikon.
DJI is by Nikon.
Oh, yeah, things like that. And this is usually something that we'd probably discuss on a podcast and then we'd cut out. But it's live now, so we're talking about it. So no escaping.
So I'm waiting for my money, Nikon. DJI. No, we're actually not Nikon.
No,
so yeah, we're not going to get anything. Yeah. Not of that sweet.
Just clarifying that.
Sweet money of stabilizers and drones.
But thank you. Yes. But I will say that the system itself is actually very strong. And if you speak to actual photographers who are using the system, professionals or semi-professionals or keen amateurs, a lot of you here who are commenting today, there's actually there's nothing to complain about, particularly with the system. If you are using multiple systems, I would be interested to hear what you like from what, but hands down, I will point out, I can see that I'm gesticulating a lot on the street. I'm going to put my hands down. Hands down, the Nikon glass outperforms pretty much anything, I would say, and there's literally nothing wrong with the system.
No, the thing is, it doesn't mean there's there are no things for them to improve.
Yeah,
we all photographers, we all would love to see the new announcements. Yeah. It's just the way we are. You know, we want to see new announcements. We want Nikon to compete. Yes. You know, that's absolutely fine. The problem we have at the moment, and I've lost a thought here, but
well, you were pointing out to me earlier that you were watching a review on the A1, right?
Yeah, so not going to name names, but what struck me, and I thought, let's discuss it. On one A1 review, gentleman said, A1 is a statement camera. That's why all YouTubers that are testing it, that's why Sony sent it out to all the YouTubers. Now, that struck me because are YouTubers are they professional photographers?
No, but they are opinion leaders, apparently.
That's the thing. The important thing here is, yes, Sony does a really smart marketing where they send cameras to influencers or YouTubers, and that's what we hear. So other companies, they don't do as well. And I think Nikon doesn't do really well with it. They really have to address the situation.
Yeah.
The problem I have with YouTubers is, yes, a lot of noise comes from there. That's the thing. That's the world we live in at the moment. So my problem with YouTubers, I won't call it beef or anything, but how many YouTubers are actually good photographers? And I'm not even counting myself as being a good photographer. So, but how many reviews did you see and you actually saw some good photographers? They are exceptions, of course, and they're normally done by actual professional photographers. Yeah. And their channels are much smaller.
Yeah.
But if you look at the, let's say, 100,000 plus YouTubers.
Mentioning no names.
No names. How much good photography did you see there?
Yeah.
One A1 review has been done entirely in a flat, in someone's flat.
Oh, so yes. That's a good point. It's a really good point.
But yes, that's upsetting, and maybe I'm saying those things, but from the other point of view, this is free advertising to the company. So in my opinion, Nikon should do literally the same. Yes,
I think that if, obviously, we're not YouTubers, actually. Yeah. We're photographers and we work in a Nikon shop and we have a lot of passion for the brand. Yeah. But I think that...
This is the world we live in.
This is the world we live in. And it would be amazing if, to be fair, we've had quite a few loans recently, which is good. But it has taken a while for Nikon to kind of catch on that if we have the cameras, not just us, I'm talking about YouTubers in general, but if people who create content have the cameras, they will be able to do something with them that will show, and they'll actually be able to shoot with them. It is a shame that this has become the way that we get our information now. But it's like
that's the thing, talking about Z5 is more expensive in Australia because different branch is setting the prices. In United States and UK and Europe are different branches. They don't talk to each other, and sometimes promotions are completely different.
Yeah.
Now, what Sony does, and this has nothing to do with their camera equipment, but with their PlayStation branch, what's happening now, they're closing their gaming studios in Japan, and I'll tell you why it's important. And they actually increasing their spend on the developers in the United States. They're also increasing their marketing spend for Sony America and Sony UK. I expect, and from what happening to Sony camera marketing, they're doing literally the same with their Sony marketing. It's not the Sony Japan that decides how to market their Sony cameras. They're really good at creating and designing the hardware and equipment, but marketing does someone else.
Yeah.
I think Nikon and other photography companies should do the same.
Could take a little leaf out of their book for that, for sure.
Absolutely.
Now, we got some very interesting comments. The first one was from Woody, who said that actually a Z8, Z9 development has been confirmed. Lee also pointed out, I think Nikon should tell their existing and potential customers what they're working on, even long term. I do personally like the development announcements. We talked about this a little bit in the podcast, didn't we?
Yeah, Tokyo Olympics in July, so we probably will see quite a few development announcements, especially, in my opinion, for long lenses.
Yeah, exactly. And someone, Kevin, made a very good point. Bottom line, Z lenses are the reason why you should buy a Z camera.
Yes.
Yes, we will talk about the glass. So we have now quite a big lineup of lenses. But one thing that when I was speaking to Simon Stafford earlier, he said is interesting. First of all, he said, I'm very, very, very happy with the Nikon Z system. I don't normally get that many veries out of Simon. I was like, wow. He's very happy with it. He absolutely loves it. And he is using the Z6 and the Z7. He does have a D500 and a D850 for when he's doing travel and wildlife and that kind of thing. And, you know, I'm probably of the same mind. I would still be inclined to use a DSLR if I was doing a once in a lifetime trip or something like that. But for me personally, and I know you don't agree with me, but for me personally, the Z6 does everything that I need completely. I did. And in fact, when I had the 70 to 200, I used it on the Z50 because I wanted the crop factor. And you know what? I know how to use the autofocus system. I got tiny little blue tits and great tits. I got sparrows. I got robins. I don't have a problem. Lots of birds, yeah. That's what I went out for. So I don't have a problem using the autofocus system. I know how it differs from a DSLR, and so I can get the best out of it. I don't think that everyone can necessarily do that. And not everyone has the patience for it either, because it does take quite a bit of training almost. You kind of have to reprogram your brain. Well, what do I do with this point? But actually, it does work. When you
I can tell you my puppy training takes much longer than this.
Then Z autofocus.
Absolutely.
Training. That's a good point. Here we go. Woody's comment is pinned. Within the year, we plan on releasing a professional camera model. Our latest groundbreaking technologies, our Nikon Z lens lineup is scheduled to expand to approximately 30 lenses. So that's a big.
Yeah, we had, I think, figure 27, but it's 30 now by end of 22.
Amazing. We like that very much. Barra says, when the Z6 and 7 were announced, Nikon US had a day out for influencers.
Yeah, not enough.
We need more.
Not
more
enough.
of that, but it's good. It's progress. We did, what did we do? Oh, but we're not influencers. Well, we're not. It doesn't count.
You see that
we did a training day.
Yes, but I think Nikon should give their mirrorless cameras to a lot of young hands. We need young people using those cameras.
Yeah.
Young people are good at social media.
Yeah, it's true.
They need to spread the word. We old people.
Age bracket here, but I
old people nowadays.
We're old people. I don't know how social media works.
Exactly. What is Twitter? But
who uses Twitter?
Give them out to young hands. Don't need to look at the number of subscribers on your channel.
Yeah.
Just let those cameras out. Let them be used, and people will create content with them.
Yeah.
This is important. This is free advertisement at the cost of the camera. You normally loan them. They will send it back to you.
Exactly.
This is very important. That one day for influencers is not enough. You have to spam them with your cameras and lenses.
Literally, you do. So, so there you go. That's our opinion. Nikon, if you're watching.
Yeah. Well, telling this from the past, when I was studying at what's the name? It was City of Westminster College. Yeah, this thing. We had Nikons in our department. So photography and media department. So you could actually loan D200 at the time with the lenses, and you could go and shoot outside or in the studio. From what we hear, a lot of it has been now taken over by Canon. And and probably now Sony, I'm not sure about this, but but in our opinion, if people go study photography, get your cameras available.
Yeah.
Yes. If people do social media, just get your cameras, available. Professional photographers, they earn money with their photography. Rarely where they create their YouTube channels.
Yeah.
They're busy doing actual work, shooting pictures.
I Are you done?
No, I have another half an hour. What I want Nikon to do.
So I would like to qualify Konstantin's statement. His definition of someone old is anyone over the age of 25.
I'm old.
We are millennials, and therefore we are old people now. It's official.
What is Minecraft? Yeah.
At least I know what Minecraft is, Fez, because my children play. Anyway, so that's what we think in terms of marketing. We're just giving our own piece of opinion there, if you like. On the lenses, Nikon Z lenses, in comparison to f-mount lenses, are sharper. They are generally faster, particularly, obviously, if you're going to compare a 70-200 2.8 f-mount versus the S lens on a Z6 or Z7, the S lens, the one designed for the Z mount, is going to be faster.
Yeah, it's another level.
There's, I didn't see it at first, to be honest, when we were first testing out the Z6 and Z7s. But all of those firmware updates have made such a difference to the focusing system. It is more accurate. Although Nikon say, okay, 6.2 and 7.2 aren't faster, they won't tell you it's faster. They'll tell you it's more accurate. Did you notice the 6.2 faster than the Z6? Yeah.
It's actually with the new firmware.
Are we splitting hairs?
Between the two models now, no, it's actually quite noticeable. But between, let's say, firmware, let's say 1 and 1.1, camera is definitely more reliable. I've been shooting with 70-200, and it's my dog fetching the ball, running from me and towards me. That's the most extreme situation where subject running towards you to use continuous focusing. Yeah, I managed to get more shots compared to firmware 1. Z6 would be a lot slower. Okay. So anything running sideways is absolutely fine on both cameras. Yeah. So because the distance doesn't really change much. So, but in the extreme subjects where, let's say, either someone is walking towards you actually is not a big deal. It's running towards you. Yeah. It makes a lot of difference.
So we have, I've got to acknowledge all these amazing people who've contributed to the coffee fund, but I'm just going to, I'll call you by name in a minute. I just had to change my brain because I was like, I'm on a PC, not a Mac. Right. What am I doing? So at some point here, it's going to show you.
It's so difficult.
It's so difficult. It's different shortcuts. So we did a little screenshot here. Can you see this? It might not work. Is it working? It's not showing. Let's try it full screen and see if it will work. Oh yeah, you can see that. Okay, so this is literally just tracking. This is a phone. This is a SnapBridge screen grab, actually. But this was Con tracking me walking down Churton Street, as you can see, and how this is with the new firmware and how quickly, or slow as the case may be, but quickly, it picks up my eye and how far away I have to be. So when I was walking really fast, he was telling me to go back and forward. This is why I'm rolling my eyes.
Yeah, as we recording through SnapBridge on iPhone, so there's a delay there as well. Yeah, so on something like Ninja, it would pick up a lot faster, or on the screen, on the back screen of the camera.
It's just to give you an idea. So, oh, there we go. That was it. So it just shows you how quickly you can actually get the eye tracking to work. I've been using the Z6 with the latest firmware on mostly on animals, but also on people. I don't try and do them running or moving or anything like that. I don't use the face detection for that. I use the 3D tracking point, and I just pick the point and then allow it to track.
It's interesting because actually when you use animal face detection, if you have a person in the frame, it's still, it actually also recognizes the person as well.
Yeah, it does.
So it's kind of, they call them differently in the different groups, but actually it looks like they work in the same way, or like they work together.
Exactly. So that's just to give you a little sort of snippet of what the firmware update looks like. In fact, Rishi again also did a video on that, and he was walking in and out of the frame. But it's interesting to have that person coming towards you. I find, as you said, something coming towards you is probably the trickier of the AF.
Yeah. And it's running especially. Yeah. Because they run fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. There we go. Now you pinned a comment. Here we go. So Tamron 70-210 f4, worthwhile on the Z6 II for outdoor sports or look elsewhere?
We have no idea.
I don't know, actually. I've never used a Tamron lens. It's not a native
lens. We sell Nikon lenses, so we don't really have experience with other lenses.
No, sometimes
we do, like Sigma Art lenses I've used.
Exactly. Then it's more down to what we actually want to use than anything else. So the lenses are incredibly expensive right now. Aaron, it's an interesting point. I would say yes and no, because if you look at the quality that you're getting Actually, not so much. I'm sure that the prices will sort of settle, but for the lenses that have been out since the Z6 and Z7, the 50mm may seem expensive for a 50mm, but what you're getting in terms of quality is better than any f-mount 50mm, hands down. I can attest to that.
Also compare it to the prices of other mirrorless systems.
Yeah.
And the price are about the same.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're comparing to the price of f-mount, like let's say price of 51.8, yes, they're incomparable, but completely different image quality.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. AJ says, I believe one of Nikon's biggest issues is arrogance. Arrogance is a harsh word.
Arrogance?
But
okay, please explain. Please.
No, look, all the Z cameras and lenses are awesome. But at some point, they have to listen to consumers. No flip screen, no vertical grip, etc.
They do listen to consumer. I don't think arrogance is the right word for it.
Probably not, but...
I think they taken slower to implement things that customers ask, but they do listen to the customers. We've seen improvements. It takes longer, unfortunately, but I wouldn't call it arrogance.
No, maybe that. I think that's probably the wrong word to use. You know, so many people are telling us that we're not old, so thank you.
Aww.
Appreciate that.
I'm glad they don't see my grey hair.
No, it's not that. It's not. We're not going to do a close up on that. A couple of people were mentioning D500. Really, the D500 equivalent is the Z50, and it's not. So if you've got a D500, then I wouldn't say the Z50 is the solution. It's the same sensor. But I would look at one of probably the Z6 or the Z6 II if you're looking for something that will work well with sports and wildlife. All right, very quickly, I need to say thank you to Adrian and Richard and Nick and Barra and Charles and Joe for your contributions to the Coffee Fund. That's very, very much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I think... I can't pronounce this person's name. I'm very sorry. I'm going to pronounce it as Guy or Guy. The Z system is a fine system, but the 15C, that's the battery, and the MBN11 are still for months not available. Yes, this is true. Now, just to say, I have spoken to many people at Nikon, but I've also spoken to people that use other systems like Canon and also Fuji. It's the same for everyone. It's not just for Nikon themselves. But Nikon are obviously having an issue because factory changes, company restructure, COVID, small little thing called COVID thing that shut down the factories and, brought everything to a standstill. And Brexit for us.
Yeah. I think what we've noticed is because of the, whole last year where people had to spend a lot of time at home, people have been impatient and they want to have things now. And the problem is with a lot of manufacturers, not in camera equipment, everywhere, that a lot of factories had to shut down. They're producing parts for the cameras, lenses, computer things, devices, etc., EV cars. What we notice now is there's been delay and there's shortage supply, not only just with Nikon. Yes, if we're at home and we're waiting for things, we want things now, but unfortunately, it's just the way the world works at the moment. I think it would be a valid criticism if we wouldn't live in a post-COVID world.
Yes, for sure. I think the last year would have been very different for us, let's put it that way. But as is the case for everyone, and very much for manufacturers of anything. So we do have to be a bit patient. But I think over the next year, there's going to be a huge amount of, let's say, improvements and releases. And you pinned 2 comments and I can only see one of them, so I'm going to read the current one. Part of the problem is the way YouTube promotes its contributors by promoting videos that incorporate titles that act as clickbait. Yes, I'm a Z6 user and I think it is a sensational camera. Just saying. Thank you, Charles. That's very helpful.
Just to give you an example, our last podcast, Nikon Report, 30% of click-through came from the video which is called Nikon is Dead. 30%. Thank you so much for the views. Honestly,
it's amazing.
That's how algorithm works.
Yeah, it is. So we all have to get our heads around that. Scott, I did get my XQD card back. Fine. Thank you very much. There's firmware update. Long story, but anyway.
But what I want to point out, obviously, we talk about positives and everything. They are valid criticism of the system, and they definitely should be improved. And we definitely will see some of the improvements. The problem what we see now is if 1 week nothing happens from Nikon, apparently is a big deal on the internet.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing. That's I think what the reality we live at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there are definitely positives to sticking with the DSLR. Nikon are one of the only manufacturers that have, at the moment, said that they're bringing out a DSLR this year, and they're continuing to support that system. Whereas other manufacturers have decided to say, no, sorry, you DSLR users, we don't care for you anymore.
I don't know, for some reason, I just had kind of this reminder of like a meeting and say, hi, I'm Konstantin, I use Nikon. You know, here's my story.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah.
But it's interesting how, if you do pay any attention to other manufacturers, I tend not to, but if you do, then you'll probably see there is a recurring pattern where more and more people are shooting mirrorless, and so manufacturers are going, oh, we're just going to concentrate on mirrorless. So we have to also take our hats off to them.
Actually, we had a conversation about this before. We talked about, well, a lot of people say the Canon just said we're going mirrorless, full stop. Nikon is trying to cater for both camps. Now, there are positives of it because Nikon is looking after their people. Yes, and a lot of Nikon users are still using DSLRs. The problem with that, it's mixed messaging because we're not sure if Nikon is going to continue with their DSLR or they're going to move towards mirrorless. What is the right way? Just to say, no, we're going mirrorless and that's it, and upset a lot of people? What's the right way to go about it? What we don't know the answer.
No, we don't. But I do think that if they continue to produce something in the SLR or continue to support the SLR shooters, they'll keep a huge majority of their customer base happy.
I wonder if they can create some sort of roadmap and say, well, by this year, we probably will completely switch to mirrorless system. Maybe. It's like a lot of manufacturers, car manufacturers now, they say, by year 2030, we'll be going all electric.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it could be something like this would be quite useful.
Yeah, exactly. Chan says a true pro mirrorless with integrated grip is needed from Nikon in order for them to recapture the pro market, similar to when they released the D3 in 2007. We completely agree, Chan. I think that's what we're expecting with the Z9. So watch this.
I want a big camera myself.
That's all you need, really. Big camera, and then you're happy in life.
Absolutely.
So we talked about the firmware. We talked about, so just to give you some examples of photographers that I've spoken to, and to give you both camps. I know we're running out of time here, but I just want to mention them. We've got Simon Stafford, I've mentioned. He's a professional photographer. He uses both systems, but tends to use the 6 and the 7 more. And the 850 and the 500 tend to be used for more niche things. I personally use the Z6 and the Z50 now all the time. Except for when I'm shooting film, I don't pick up the D850 because I sold it.
Could be a reason,
It could be a reason, but I found myself using it less and less, and progressively, just in the end, decided that what was the point in having a camera that I wasn't going to use, and the Z6 kind of keeps me more than happy, and the Z50 works as a little backup camera. I know that you have both.
Yes.
And for you wouldn't get rid of the D850.
I would continue to use my D850 for any commission work, any professional work, and I use Z6 for fun things. You know, something to walk around camera. The problem what we have now is we don't really shoot commercially a lot. Well, I don't. You know, I think my rate of work dropped by about 80%. So
that's in the last year, though.
That's in the last year, and this is the problem. And I don't think I love D50. I think what it does is amazing. I don't think that Z6 or Z7 Mark II to do the same thing in terms of snappiness and just overall user experience.
Yeah.
So I do find that, yes, let's say Z6 I get more sharp shots out of it, and that's just due to AF system on the camera, but it's slower. But D850 for commercial work, it's just, you know, I'm waiting for Nikon to release something like this in mirrorless, and then I'll definitely say, yeah, this is the camera I want.
Yeah, exactly. And then we look at photographers like David Yarrow, who, being a Nikon ambassador, was given a Z7 to try when they first came out, and sticks with his D850 because what he's doing is wildlife. And if you've seen most of the time is wildlife, it's not. It's actually lifestyle. And so much more. When you win, you will see. But it's very interesting. He relies on. He's not going to necessarily change to the Z system immediately. I've had other photographers who've gone, I don't look back. You know, I changed both my DSLRs to Zs, you know, if you're like a 2-camera shooter for weddings and things like that. And I can understand why, because yes, it's smaller and lighter. Yes, the lens quality is excellent. I think if you want an entry-level lens that's not as because a couple of people are complaining about the cost of the 51.8. First of all, I would personally say it's worth it, but second of all, if you do want a cheap, inexpensive lens to get you started, the 24 to 50, it's like it's not very much. I can't remember how much it is. It's like 300 quid or
Buy
something.
an FTZ kit and put 51AG on it. Of course, it's not a direct replacement or anything, but it will get you going for the time being.
It will.
I do agree they need to release cheaper lenses.
Yeah, yeah, it would be good to have, because the 1.8s are so high quality. They perform like 1.4s or better in some cases. They really do.
51.8 is better than any f-mount 50 that Nikon ever made.
Like the 1.4, 1.8, any of those.
Yeah.
So there's no comparison really.
Shots fired.
Let's not go there. But you're right. The pancake lenses, when they arrive, hopefully will be smaller, lighter, and less expensive. And I think that's kind of what we're waiting for. So more lenses are definitely needed. A couple of people also mentioned dedicated flashes or flash compatibility. Using flash is a very different thing when you're shooting with Zs, but it's not impossible and it's not really difficult. It's just a matter of getting your head around how the system works. Mandar says maybe they'll offer an exchange program. They do quite frequently offer exchanges, actually. So with the Z6 II and 7 II, you could trade in any camera and you got an extra 180 quid for it. So you can absolutely keep an eye out for those. There may be more of those coming in the future, but I like the suggestion of doing that for the Z5 and the Z50.
Yeah, just to clarify, it's a part exchange with the camera dealer, so not directly with Nikon.
Yeah, exactly. Then there was another excellent comment earlier. A couple of people are talking about video pros and cons, and what do we think about N-Log? Like, what about N-Log?
Yeah, it's unfortunately we are not videographers. We wish to be. From what
we aspire to it one day.
Yes, exactly. You can see by the quality of our YouTube content.
Look, we started off. We knew nothing.
Yeah.
Now we know a little something, just a little bit.
We started to stream from our mobile phones.
Yeah.
And look at us now.
Yeah.
But what Nikon basically said in the interview with SciTech, Chinese website, they said that they listen to videographers and a lot of video features will be implemented in new cameras. They mentioned that 10-bit log is not possible internally at the moment, so you have to use something like Ninja 5 or Blackmagic recorder to do that, and you need to enable RAW support. So internally, I guess it's a hardware limitation. Let's see for the new releases. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they should do away with video at all. I think that if anything, that's the way that more and more people are going. So the better the video is.
Well, we talked about it. The video technology is now pushing megapixel arrays effectively. Yeah.
Exactly. There's some shots fired in these comments that I don't want to read out. Goodness me. So you got excited. Yes. And enthusiastic, and then everyone else got.
No, we're all passionate, but the important thing is to have a sensible conversation instead of just screaming.
Exactly, and I think everyone can make valid points, and also pay attention to what's actually happening as opposed to just what people are saying is happening.
Absolutely,
is the other thing. Yes. So synthetic color says Nikon needs to make Z primes with a low element count. See, fewer elements ideally would be then cheaper. I imagine that's what the pancake lenses will do or be or become. But for me personally, I use, just to talk about my lens setup, 24-70 f4, 35 1.8, and the what's the other lens that I have? 51.8. There you go. Went blank.
All right, my setup 24-70 f4, and then whatever lenses I can take from here.
Okay, good.
I use them.
Excellent.
At the moment, it's 70-200-8 and 51.2,
which is not too shabby. I love the 51.2, but there's a lot of merits to that glass. Just have a look at people that actually use it for work or for proper photography, and you'll see what we mean. The results speak for themselves, let's put it that way. There are macro lenses on the lineup. There are telephotos. Really looking forward to the 100-400 and the 200-600, is it? Yeah.
In terms of technical performance, just optical performance of the lenses, if you look at the on medium format forums, a lot of people comparing this glass with GFX glass. They don't compare it with any other brands.
No.
So now, keep in mind that GFX glass is quite big and heavy.
And it's medium format.
So just to compare Nikon lens with that, I think it's a good indication of how good those lenses are.
It is. David says, I think I'll stick to film cameras for a bit longer. Yeah.
It's too much drama in digital. I agree.
Too much drama. That's right, David. I'm with you. So Ian says, do we think the Z7 II AF can be improved with firmware, or do we need a new body?
I think it can be improved with the firmware, and we saw it with with the current firmware updates. It's definitely already better, and also the first generation of cameras had a huge upgrade, so they went from firmware 1 to firmware 3, and that's definitely has improved the autofocus performance. So fingers crossed. Again, no indication that will happen, but just looking at the past, I think they will do the same.
Yeah, exactly. Vishwarath says, when will we be getting third-party lenses? We have them. We've got quite a few third-party Z lenses announced now. So if you don't want to buy Nikon glass, it's always been the case with F-mount lenses. You can buy cheaper alternatives.
There's Laowa, there's Artisans, 7 Artisans.
Artisan 7, yeah.
Yeah. There is a talk about Sigma considering introducing, and I think as soon as Sigma gets in there, that's where we'll start to see a proper glass coming in.
Yeah, exactly. There are so many possibilities for lenses, and also, I mean, we mentioned a little while back about Megadap doing a manual focus adapter, which would then allow you to autofocus your D lenses and manual focus lenses. It's a Leica M mount, but you can get a Nikon F Leica M adapter as well. Obviously, it becomes quite a big setup with the FTZ, but if you've got existing glass, there's no reason not to use it on the Z system. In fact, I personally prefer using my manual focus lenses on the Z6 because of focus peaking, because it's a much nicer sensor to shoot with that older glass with than it was on the D850, and I find autofocus a million times easier. So I would definitely put that there. Now, for those of you who are saying I would like to win, you have to work for your.
Gotta work for it.
You got to work for it. So in order to be, we're going to do the draw in just a minute. You have to put next Friday ... and then what you'd like us to do next Friday. We're going to pick someone. We won't pick your idea necessarily unless it's a great idea, but we'd like to see your ideas for our live streams. Now, what are we doing? So we're gonna, why am I asking you what we're doing? You don't know.
All right, you know what grinds my gears?
No, no, you don't get to speak anymore. If you would like to invest in a Z camera, we created just for the live stream, and we're going to put it live shortly, or I think it's already live. It's already live, a coupon for you. So we have quite a few secondhand Z cameras because people were upgrading from the 6s to the 6.2s or the 7s to the 7.2s. You get £100 off any of those cameras if you put in the code Z100 in the online shop. That's there for you to use at your leisure. Obviously, our lovely customers in the United States, you have to call us if you want to place an order. You can't do it online. But if you're in the UK or Europe, pretty much anywhere else, you can absolutely order through our online shop. So if you've been thinking about it and you weren't sure, there's an extra £100 off for you just to make it that little bit easier to make that decision. Now, we are going to draw the prize winner in a moment once I've logged in, because it's not ready yet. So in the meantime, we will be supplied some music by Constantine. That's great. Are we ready?
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so now I have to switch over. There we go. And
are we gonna have sound there?
I don't know.
Ooh.
You can hear that, and we're not just dancing.
That's we in the future dancing for that 9 announcement.
Yay!
Paul!
Paul! Well done, Paul. So you win this. We're going to go through all of your ideas and see what you came up with. It's going to be very interesting. Hopefully no one asked us to dress up in like chicken costumes and dance around or something. But anyway, so you can't hear me at all? Oh, well.
Can you hear me?
Well, we're going now, so so that's all I have to say about that. You can hear me now.
Are we live?
Excellent.
Yeah.
We are still live.
Still live. Still alive.
Just about. Yeah, I didn't know if you could actually hear the music, so otherwise it just looks like we're dancing to nothing.
Well, I was pretending that they announced Z9, and I was just, happy.
Thank you to everyone who's contributed to the coffee fund this week. We massively appreciate it. Well done to Paul, who's won this. We'll get that sent out to you. And do use the code Z100. Please do give us a like, subscribe, vote for us in British Photographic Industry news. The instructions for that are in the description box.
WIW.
I think I've given you enough things for this week. So thank you very much. And we'll see you next week.
Great talk.